Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lode-Holt. Last week we held summer music camp for elementary aged kids here at Redeemer, and it was amazing to watch the kids experience drums, bells, singing, art, and all sorts of activities. As they learned about music, it made me think about the history and heritage of music in the Bible, and also about the musical instruments mentioned that they used in Bible times. So that's been our topic this week. One of the ways I have referred to the book of Psalms in the past is that it was Israel's hymn book. In fact, you may never have noticed, but it is split up into five separate sections or books, and most scholars believe that each book contains hymns that were familiar favorites in different sections of Israel, and then they were put together into the whole book of Psalms. If you talk to any church musician who has worked in different parts of the country, he or she will tell you that different areas know different hymns, so the way Psalms was put together makes sense. If you look at Psalm 14 and Psalm 53, you will see that they are identical. And probably what happened there is that that particular psalm was popular in two places, and when they put the book of Psalms together, they missed that it was repeated. Another aspect of the Psalms that you may never have noticed is that sometimes there are some small print directions just before the psalm. For example, Psalm 23, which we know well, says, "A Psalm of David," which might indicate that it was written by David himself. Psalm 22 has an introduction that is a bit more involved. It says, "To the leader, according to the deer of the dawn, a psalm of David." Many believe that the phrase, "the deer of the dawn," is the name of the tune that this psalm should be sung to. Another like that might be Psalm 84, which says, "To the leader, according to the Gittith of the Korahites, a psalm." Here, the Gittith may be the tune name, and the Korahites may refer to a style of music. Other introductions give even more information and tell the situation for which a psalm was written. Psalm 53 has an introduction that says, "To the leader, a maskil of David, when Doeg the Edomite came to Saul and said to him, 'David has come to the house of Ahimelech.'" So we have a Bible story we could look up and see what happened and what inspired this psalm to be written. Before we get to the instruments today, there's one more part of the Psalms we need to see and address. Some Psalms, like Psalm 24, for example, have the word Selah, usually written in italics, in various places in the Psalm. Just like those tune names or styles that we aren't sure about, we really don't know what Selah means. Some have suggested it means "do the refrain here," or "repeat that verse," or even "speed up" or "slow down." No one really has any clue what that word means. Translation of ancient languages often relies on how words are used in other places in documents, and by putting things together you can get an idea of their meaning. Well, Selah happens not to be used anywhere else, so we don't know what it means. Then why don't we take it out and just do away with it? It's a word in the Bible, and just because we don't know what it means now doesn't mean that we will never know. We hold on to God's word. One final thing. All week we have talked about the music of the Bible and the Psalms, but we need to realize that even with all we have said, we have no idea how the music of the Bible times sounded. How the Psalms were sung and what they sounded like, and other music has been lost to history. Our first instrument from the Bible times we want to talk about today is the harp. We continue to have harps today, and now, just as then, it was a multi-stringed instrument, and it was played in support of singers. There are many examples all over the Bible of people playing harps in praise of God, and even our popular image is that there are harps in heaven. Harps offer a beautiful sound. Our last instrument for this week is the flute. This is another woodwind similar to the pipe we talked about a day or so ago, and we have flutes even today. Flutes don't have reeds, but make sound by blowing across an opening. Maybe as a child you did something similar with a Coke bottle and got sound. In Bible times, flutes were often associated with funerals. In Matthew 9, when Jesus goes to the home of Jairus, whose daughter has died, when he arrives, the Bible tells us that the mourners and the flute players had already arrived to mark her death. He put them all out of the house and then raised the little girl back to life. The final thing I want to say to wrap up this week is to point to the title of this week's theme. I have called the week When in Our Music, and that's a reference to a hymn in our hymnal. The first verse says, "When in our music God is glorified, and adoration leaves no room for pride, it is as though the whole creation cried, Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia." May that be the song of our hearts. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.